Ladies and gentlemen, Sidestrafe here with a very special look at World of Tanks and a brand new premium you Sherman fans won't want to miss.
Enemy armor is destroyed.
Meet Fury. This is of course a M4A3E8, otherwise known as the Easy 8, but not just any Easy 8. This is a replica of the one found in the movie Fury. And if you haven't seen that movie, by the way, I definitely recommend you check it out. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and pull up the stats for both this and the regular Easy 8 found within the game and see if this bad boy is worth the $30 price tag. Now, as you can see from these stat cards, the Easy 8 and the Fury are about the same tank. The real kicker for the Fury is its decrease in mobility. You can see they are sharing the same hit point pool at 750. The tonnage on Fury is a bit more at 34.94. Engine horsepower is where it takes a kick, 500 flat versus the 520 found on the regular Easy 8. And at 41.8 kilometers an hour versus 48 kilometers on the Easy 8, I'd be lying if I said you didn't feel that speed decrease. However, Fury does make up for it a little bit in its traverse speed. That's going to be 44 degrees a second versus 40 on the standard issue Easy 8. Everything's going to be the same when it comes down to hull armor, but there is a difference currently, at least, with turret armor. You can see that it's 63 across the board on Fury, whereas we have 76, 51, and 51 on the Easy 8. Now, from what I've been told, at least by some of the viewers on my live stream and by doing a little bit of research, once the regular Easy 8 undergoes its HD conversion, it will probably see the same turret armor as the Fury, as what the Fury currently has is historically accurate, and what the current Easy 8 has is a bit buffed up by Wargaming. Moving on to firepower, you can see that they both share a 76mm main gun, so everything is the same across the board. 86 to 144 standard shell damage, 96 to 160 standard shell penetration. They also share the same rate of fire, 18.18. That's quite a few rounds per minute there, and definitely one of the most satisfying aspects of having a tank with a 76mm gun. Turret traverse is down by 1 point on the Fury for 38 degrees a second. View range is 370 across the board on both tanks. And then finally, signal range is 570 versus the 615 on the normal Easy 8. So clearly the Fury premium tank is inferior to the grindable Easy 8. And as it should be, premium tanks are not supposed to be better than normal ones. Otherwise, they'd be considered pay to win. And while it is inferior, it's really only in the mobility department. And while that can be a problem for soft American tanks like the Shermans, at least its firepower is intact. It seems to be exactly the same from what I can tell. So at least there's that, and you're not dealing with an Excelsior issue where it felt like you had to constantly use APCR in order to succeed at almost every tier. So the firepower is decent, mobility not so much. What else are you going to get for that $29.99? Or even, as you can see here, $99.99. Obviously, you get your high poly or HD Fury Sherman Easy 8. You're going to get a garage slot to store it, as well as a 100% trained crew, which is really good. And that crew is also named after the characters in the movie, which is kind of nice. On top of that, you're going to get 2,600 gold, so that's your $29.99 package. The only difference on the $100 package is the amount of gold you get, so it's 25,000 versus 2,600, and that's just going to be personal preference. So I'm going to get back to some gameplay with the UI on so that you can see how I utilize the Fury tank, but before I really discuss tactics, I want to talk about why Fury is worth $30 to me personally. For one, I think I have a thing for Sherman tanks. No, they weren't the greatest vehicles of the war, but to quote the author Steven Zaloga, they were good enough, and more so, you had to rely on a great crew to make it perform against a technologically superior enemy. And in that, I have just taken an interest in the tank. I've got plenty of books on Shermans, and it's just one of those things where I've come to respect the vehicle in other ways that I think people typically don't see. Beyond that, I enjoyed the film, and it's nice to see the vehicle represented here. They've done a fantastic job remodeling the tank. It's got all the little details from the film. You've got the German helmet on the front with the gas mask, and you've got some other helmets on the turret for the crew. You got ammo crates and the 30 cal and the 50 cal on the turret. It just looks fantastic. And, well, honestly, even if this wasn't from a movie, I probably still would have bought it anyway, because I have a thing for Shermans, and I just think that the model is sweet. I like that the tank looks like it's lived on, like most tanks back then did. This was a crew's home, and they had an attachment to their tank. It was a part of their lives. It was almost like a living being, as strange as that may sound. And it's just one of those things where it's nice to see that represented in a video game. So with that said, I guess you could say this tank is more so for a digital collector. It's for the person that has a thing for Shermans, or maybe just cool looking tanks and wants to collect a few in their garage. It's probably not for the meta gamer. It's probably not for somebody that's looking for a performer or a tank that's going to net them massive amounts of credits. There's probably quite a few other premium tanks out there that are better suited for that job. Now, if you're looking for something to train an American medium crew and you don't like the Ram 2 or the Super Pershing, then this might also be a good option for you. It is a solid performer, while not as fast as the regular Easy 8. In the right hands, I think it's pretty capable, although you might have to adjust your playing style a little bit. So to get back to some of this gameplay here, you can see that this match has started out mostly with a long-range engagement, as opposed to the flanking battle we had earlier on. I do feel that this is more of a supportive medium tank. It's designed to stick with heavier groups and maybe suppress targets with its fast rate of fire. It is pretty accurate, but the velocity is not amazing. So I would definitely suggest you try to stick with your main assault groups and provide support as a flanker. But if you have to stick back and snipe, then you can do it. It's just not going to be your primary role. Also, I do recommend that you carry some APCR rounds. In fact, maybe more than some. This tank doesn't have preferential matchmaking, which means that you're going to see tier 8s, and with standard ammunition, you might have some problems, especially if you're dealing with frontal armor. IS-6s and KV-2s, not very fun tanks to run into, and really you shouldn't be shooting them from the front anyway. You want to try to get around them or just retreat and let somebody else take care of them. Prioritize your target, know your role, and engage threats that you're able to take out. Now, there are going to be parts of today's video where I don't switch back to standard ammunition. Mostly it's because I forget to do so, or that I just rather not take any chances. Sometimes I'm going up against threats that I feel will need the APCR, especially if you're dealing with frontal armor. But for the most part, kind of play with using standard and APCR, switching between the two. Your reload time is really fast. Remember, you have about 18 rounds a minute on this bad boy, so don't be afraid to reload and switch to cheaper ammunition. I honestly believe that I could watch this tank drive around all day long. It's just simply stunning. Also, don't forget to take advantage of that rate of fire. 18.18 rounds a minute is nothing to laugh at, and you can definitely get your fair share of kill confirmations. Beyond that, I think rate of fire is just sometimes psychological. You start shooting at a guy and they panic. The average gamer doesn't know how to handle the stress, and so they look for cover or they back off. Maybe they're not even taking damage, but they're sitting there thinking, well, what if he hits my track and then his artillery buddy hits me, or maybe some other giant tank destroyer shows up and backs him up. So even if you can't kill these guys, let them know you're there, stop them, track them, immobilize them, and set them up for bigger friendlies. Also, the other thing that this tank is great at is shooting while moving. You can get yourself a vertical stabilizer to further improve that, but in many cases you'll just want to stay out in third person and keep your eye on the prize, constantly firing while moving forward or perhaps flanking around. You'll be amazed at how many shots you'll land without even being in sniper mode. Now, this was one of those games where things were kind of even for a while. I thought I had some good cover here, but apparently not, and that guy manages to get a lucky shot on me. And we're just trying to stop their capture. And while we do that, I'm starting to worry about this guy. It looked like he was trying to flank around, so I figured that I would maybe meet him. I was thinking maybe there was something up there that I could see, but there wasn't. And so I just continued around, and I wanted to help this guy out. You can see that he's pretty much a one-shot at this point. But I show up, and we managed to get a lucky shot on his track. Obviously not intentional, but it works out. He engages the other target, which ends up kind of being a mistake. And I finish him off. But you can see that this is still a pretty rough game. We know they're trying to cap, and so I just use my speed to get to that point and hopefully take a few targets out. Pushing forward to once again handle the cap. We've got somebody who's a one-shot, right in, done. But as you can see from the score here, we're not doing so hot, and I'm pretty sure that we've lost this one. So it's just one of those games where you try to take people with you, and I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to go try to cap. There's not enough time, or we don't have enough forces remaining to be able to pull it off. And I see somebody approach. I'm thinking, okay, he's either going to pass through on a hunter-killer mission, or he's going to try to cap. Obviously, he is now aware of my presence, and so I'm just going to back off, maybe lure him into a trap for my ally, but too late for that. He's down, and well, I know that I'm up here. I don't think that I'm going to be able to take anybody else out. And then I see this guy. There's an example of shooting on the move. There's another one. He misses his shot. Ka-to the boom. That's what I call being a little too cocky. He probably should have held back. Sadly, there's not a whole lot I can do against this tank destroyer, and while it was a loss, I'm pretty happy with my performance. Alright, so one more quick highlight before we head out for some garage talk. And as you can see here, just shooting on the move once again. Successful flank, whether we're doing damage or not. I'm not going to deal with that guy from the front. And you can see we're taking fire here. It's time to take cover. Here we go. Hull down. Classic positioning here. And I wasn't even sure if this would work, but it does. And one of the flaws to the Sherman is that it's too tall. But one of the pros to the Sherman is that it's too tall. And you can hide behind things like this and just take people out, and they can't even shoot at you. Your turret armor is not amazing, but most of the time these guys were just hitting the wreck in front of me, and it was kind of funny. It's also a nice position because you've got the smoke from the wreck interfering with their line of sight, so that helps. But also, this wreck was just perfect because I kind of had this little thing to shoot through here where the cupola is. But beyond that, just kind of waiting for some targets to show themselves. You can see we've got some flanks appearing there. And this guy who was trying to still mess with me, but he wasn't able to land the shot. Maybe a little bit of RNG there. And he is down. Don't think I'm going to get too many shots on this TD. So it is indeed time to move along. And of course, you can't have World of Tanks without some bath time fun. Enemy goes into the drink, and, well, apparently so does the rest of my team. Anyways, while those gentlemen enjoy their swim, I'm going to spend some time in the garage, or should I say campsite / movie set, if you will. This is, of course, the Fury-themed template, and I love it. I'm definitely going to mod it so that I can keep it forever, if I can. As I think it's a shame that Wargaming makes all these great garage templates and they just disappear over time, considering the amount of work that goes into them. I wish that there was some sort of drop down that you could pick whatever garage that you want. But check these Shermans out rolling in the background and have a listen. Now those sound like tanks, The one thing that I've always complained about in this game is, of course, sound effects. They were much worse in beta, but we've been dealing with the same engine sounds for a very long time, and even the iPad app has better engines, so I'm hoping that that's something that's in the works. I know new gun sounds are coming in 9.4. Also looking forward to that. Got a plane flying by as well. Love those little attentions to detail, but just this set in general looks fantastic. We've got the Fury billboard, and next to the director's chair is actually a slate that says "Best job I ever had," which is a quote from the movie. Love it. Lighting here is great too. One of my favorite templates. But anyways, the tank, probably something we should pay a little bit more attention to. You can see just all the details here. We've got the German helmet and the gas mask here, the logs, and some fuel canisters, extra helmets, ammo crates. I love the addition of the 30 cal. We've got the 50 as well. More logs. Can never have too many logs. Fury written on the barrel. Exquisite. I love it. Movie or not, I would have bought this like this. I really hope that we can see more tanks like this with that personalized, lived-on look. This is something that I've always wanted out of this game or some other tank game. I love this kind of detail. But anyways, just to talk about equipment a little bit here. I'm sure most of you know what to go with. Improved vent, rammer, and vertical stabilizer are my picks. Definitely want that vert stab, even though it's expensive. This thing is a beast on the move, so you want to help it out as much as you can. The crew, of course, is characters from the movies. You can go and highlight over their names and see that. That's a nice little touch. I think it's pretty cool. I almost feel like nobody else can be in this tank. This is their tank. I know some of you might disagree with my choices. I know most people go repairs first, but I don't really worry too much about repairing. Based on my play style, it's not a big problem for me. I'll probably eat those words later, but again, personal preference. I like to level these things first. I'm okay with that. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, really happy with this tank. Glad to see more Sherman love. And it's one of those things where this has almost become one of my favorite tanks in the game. And it's funny how aesthetics can make you feel that way. And it's just, I think, more about immersion and personalization. You know, it's just one of those things where I've been reading about this tank for so long that it's kind of nice to see one with a little bit more character. And I really, really, really hope we see more like this, even for other nations. So anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I do recommend this tank, but more so only for digital collectors or people that are fans of Sherman tanks. If you're looking for solid performance, then I would suggest you shy away from it. There are better choices. However, while I do say that in the realm of premium tanks, it's not one of the bad ones that you should avoid, like the Excelsior. In my opinion, this is a solid premium tank. It does what it's supposed to do. Premium tanks are not supposed to be better than grindable tanks, and I think it's good enough. The gun works, and worst case scenario, you see some tier 8 matches, but even then, it's just going to come down to your tactics and how you handle those threats. So, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for joining me. I really hope that you appreciate this look at the Fury. And with that, I will definitely see you on the next one.